you could see great powers emerge. Like I think Saudi Arabia and Turkey will emerge as great regional powers. I think Brazil still has the opportunity to become a great Latin American power. So in the regions, great powers will arise.
For the full recording and much more, go to geopoliticalfutures.com/ClubGPF.
In a recent article, you stated, George, and she's quoting you, the next great power is in the making, and it's as likely to be China or Iran as it is the USA. It's understandable that the USA is not going to continue to police the world and have less interaction politically with nations, but it's almost inconceivable that the USA would allow any nation, let alone the likes of China or Iran, to become the world's next superpower. Can you expand on this?
Superpower is a power that it contains enough missiles to devastate a country. A superpower also has the ability to occupy that country if there's anything left. So it has a massive military. It has an extremely high level of technology and the weapons to show for it, and so on. A superpower is someone that has reached globally. China has not reached that point because of its geopolitical position. I mean, it can't control the Pacific with its navy, and its interior itself it can't control, let alone fight border wars with India, which it tends to lose. So they will be major powers. You can have major powers that could certainly damage neighboring countries or faraway countries, but not devastate them. So when we talk about great powers, France will be a great power, but Germany will be a great power. But when you talk about a superpower, you talk about Russia and the United States that have both the conventional nuclear spatial capability to dominate a world war and fight it by itself. So the emergence of a superpower is unlikely. I don't see China cutting it, but it's the most likely one that would emerge. The Russians would be furious at that, would want us to join them in stopping it. But you could see great powers emerge. Like I think Saudi Arabia and Turkey will emerge as great regional powers. I think Brazil still has the opportunity to become a great Latin American power. So in the regions, great powers will arise, but superpowers I put as a separate group. So we're a great power, unchallenged. Russia, there's a real question about its ground military capability now, but it can easily improve that if it chooses to. Now with China, there's so many question marks. We know they're a massive space power. We know they have a nuclear capability. Do they have the ability to fight a more conventional war if they need to, even in their region? That's a different question. Is the PLA really configured for that? So I would put them on the threshold of great powerdom, but they've been on that threshold for a while. So, I can invent new categories on the fly. Great power, superpower, and so on. But really, that is a distinction that has to be drawn.
Hi from Austin, Texas. Do you think the New World Order will be positive or negative for prosperity in the Middle East? The Middle East has the potential to be the new Europe, but how do you see power being managed and coordinated between Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, and Iran? More wars or peace?
Well, before an area becomes a stable force, you have wars. The wars that tore Europe up before it became a consolidated area took centuries. What's emerging now, firstly, is Saudi Arabia, which has been designated by the Americans and the Russians as the meeting ground. They will be the meeting, and that forms an entente in oil, an oil entity that's incredibly powerful. But the Saudis are also anti-Islamic, even though they're deeply Islamic. They're anti-radical Islamic. They see them as a threat to them. Turkey also has, after supporting Islamist groups, turned anti-Islamic. So I think there are two great powers. I don't regard Israel as a great power. Israel is a small country that can afford one mistake, and that one mistake can kill it. They've had two massive mistakes. One was 1973, the other was October of last year. Israel survives by the quality of Mossad, its intelligence service, and Israeli military defense intelligence. And in both cases, that failure almost took them out. They came close with the Syrians on the Golan Heights and the Egyptians poised to go to the Middle Pass. So, being Jewish as I am, I've always told the Israelis, you're not a superpower, you're not a major power, you're a Patzer power. You have to know Yiddish, what that means. It means way down there. Israel will be able to hold its position by doing what it's doing, which is taking Gaza, creating buffers. But these buffers are so narrow that a Turkey or a Saudi Arabia, utilizing other countries, can penetrate them. So I see the Middle East remaining primarily an Islamic entity. I see Saudi Arabia emerging, sponsored by the United States and Russia, as the peacekeeper, and its relationship with Iran is not good. And I see Turkey as the center of the Byzantine Empire being not only a Middle Eastern power, but a European power. Historically, it has influenced the Balkans heavily. It went as far as Hungary in its empire. I was born very close to the Dohány utca, the Tobacco Street synagogue that Meredith's seen many times, and that was built by the Turks. So when you take a look at the Middle East, the way it's been ever since British occupation of the Middle East, remember, we inherited that after World War I, or after World War II, it is now taking the form it had before the British occupation, which is Turkey looking both toward empire in northwestern Middle East, if you will, and southeastern Europe, and the anchor being Saudi Arabia, not simply because it has military force, it has limited military force, but it has the wealth to organize the nations around it. Also emerging is great power in increasing power in the Gulf states, Qatar, particularly the UAE, and places like that. The UAE is on the verge of nuclear power. I don't know what it'll do with it, but it's like wearing a necktie. You're not invited to party without it. The shape of the Middle East is not yet formed. That neither the United States nor Russia really have a desire to be engaged in the endless wars of the Middle East is very much the case. So I think in Trump's commitment to Israel is a throwback to the post-war period. But at this point, Israel has to accept that it's a small country embedded in a very large world. It has a technological superiority at the time and a highly motivated population. But I think this war, this final war that it's had, has proven to it that it can absorb only so much, and its enemies can't be finally thoroughly defeated. They'll come back at you. So I think a different shape of the Middle East is going to take place.